Welcome, everybody, to today's event, Windowology, talk by Igarashi Tarō and hosted by Japan House London. My name is Simon Wright. I am the Director of Programming at Japan House London. And this event takes a behind-the-scenes look at our current gallery exhibition, Windowology, New Architectural Views from Japan, with a special presentation by leading Japanese architectural historian and critic, Igarashi Tarō. Before we start, I would like to share with you just how we're going to conduct this webinar. Please note that your microphone and webcam will be disabled for the entire duration of the event, but please do use the question and answer feature to type your questions for the presenter at any time throughout the session. You can also send your questions through anonymously, should you so wish. Questions will be collated by our Japan House moderators, and a selection will be answered live at the end of the event. And please note that we may not be able to answer all of the questions during the session. Also, please do note that the contents of this event will be streamlined live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, where a recording will be archived later. So today's event is broadcast live from London and from Yokohama in Kanagawa Prefecture in Japan, and features special guest Igarashi Tarō, the exhibition director of Japan House London's latest gallery exhibition, Windowology, New Architectural Views from Japan. Windowology is a research project launched by the Tokyo-based Window Research Institute, based on the belief that windows represent civilization and culture. Curated under the direction of Igarashi Tarō, the exhibition at Japan House London explores the different perspectives on the world that windows offer us, considering the roles of windows in fields such as art, contemporary architecture, craft, the environment, film, manga, and literature. Shortly, I will hand over to Igarashi Tarō himself, who will introduce you to a wide range of the Window Research Institute's activities and share some behind-the-scenes insights into the exhibition. And this will be followed by an opportunity for Igarashi-san to answer a selection of the questions submitted by today's attendees. So please do send in your questions at any time throughout the session. So now I would like to introduce our speaker, Igarashi-san. Igarashi Tarō, welcome. Thank you so much for making the time to join us from Japan today. For those watching and listening in today, I will give them a short introduction as to who you are. Igarashi-san was born in 1967 in Paris, and he is an architectural historian and critic. He graduated from the Tokyo University School of Engineering's Department of Architecture in 1990, and he currently serves as a professor at Tohoku University's Graduate School. He was the artistic director of the Aichi Triennale in 2013 and the commissioner for the Japan Pavilion at the 11th Venice Biennale. He received the Newcomers Award as a part of the 64th Art Prize of the Agency for Cultural Affairs. Igarashi-san, thank you so much for your presentation today. I only wish we could have done this in person at Japan House and you would have been able to visit us in London. And just before I hand over to you, thank you also to our interpreter today, Kurasawa, who will be interpreting into English for Igarashi-san's presentation. So thank you so much, and over to you, Igarashi Tarō. Thank you very much.
ご紹介ありがとうございます。
Thank you for the kind introduction.
これから、窓学の、展覧会と、窓研究所の活動について紹介したいと思います。この展覧会はさまざまな視角から窓の面白さを伝えるものです。ちなみに今スライドで映っているのは、日本の現代建築で建物よりも窓の方が大きいという非常に特殊な、リノベーションです。
Today, I will be explaining about the Windowology exhibition and also the research project that we have been conducting by the Windowology Research Institute. And what you are seeing right now on the screen is the contemporary architecture example in Japan. And as you can see, windows are much larger than the actual frame of the building itself. So it's quite an unusual example.
はい。紹介いただきましたように、僕は建築の批評と、建築の歴史の研究をしていて、数多くの、建築論、都市論を、出版していますし、あと窓学に関しても、いくつかの本を出しています。
As Simon introduced me, I am an architectural critic and historian, and I have published many books on the architectural theory as well as the urban theory as well. So some examples are listed here.
窓学についても、いくつかの本を出しています。
And I have published a few books on the Windowology itself as well.
それと並行して、いくつかの展覧会の、監修やキュレーションの仕事もしていまして、たった今現在、フランスのパリでは、形が語るときという、展覧会が、開催されていて、日本の現代建築を紹介していますので、もし関心のある方がいらっしゃれば、パリに、来ていただければ見ることができます。
As well as that, I work as an exhibition director as well as curator for some of the examples have been listed here. And currently, an exhibition featuring Japanese architectural examples are featured in an exhibition in Paris when the form speaks. So if you are interested, please, I recommend you travel to Paris to have a look.
はい。で、窓学という、窓をさまざまな、切り口から調査する、リサーチのプロジェクトですが、これは2007年から、始まりました。で、いろいろな先生や建築家と共同して、展開してきたんですが、ちょうど10年目の節目の時に、一度大きな、展覧会と、シンポジウムを、開催しました。
And the research project on Windowology started in 2007. It has had many partnerships and insights from university lecturers and professors. And we have decided to hold the 10th anniversary exhibition to mark the project. And that's where the idea of the exhibition came from.
はい。その時、シンポジウムも開催したんですけども、この展覧会では、研究発表だけではなくて、現代アートの、作品も紹介しています。
And as well as the exhibition, we have held this symposium as well. And in this exhibition, we have, as well as the research outcome, we have decided to display the art and the design element as well.
例えば、本間隆さんという日本の写真家なんですけども、彼はカメラ・オブスキュラの原理に関心を持ちまして、カメラ・オブスキュラっていうのはもともと閉じた部屋に小さな穴を開けると、外の風景が逆さまに映る仕組みのことを言います。
And this, an example is the works by Japanese photographer Takashi Honma, and he is extremely interested in camera obscura technique. And this technique refers to when the photographs are taken from a closed room and has a small opening from it. And if you take a photograph through that hole, the outside scenery would be captured upside down.
で、彼はこの原理を利用して建築家が設計した建物の窓を一旦、塞いで、そこに小さな穴を開けることで、本当に部屋を、写真機、カメラに、して外の風景を写したという作品を作りました。
He has used this technique on numerous buildings that he has worked on. To photograph the outside scenery. He has closed off a lot of the windows and put a hole through it to capture the images of the outside.
もう一つ、国立近代美術館というところで、窓とアートを関連させた展覧会を、開催しました。この時は建物の、前庭のところに藤本壮介さんという建築家に、窓をテーマにした、大型のインスタレーションを作ってもらいました。
Also, we have held the exhibition which combined the windows and Windowology as well as art, a journey of art and architecture through windows at the National Museum of Modern Art in Tokyo. And at the time, we have commissioned the architecture So Fujimoto to create the House of Windows installation in front of the museum.
このインスタレーションはもともと彼が大分県に設計した、三重の入れ子構造、穴がいっぱい開いてある入れ子の住宅がありまして、それを元にしたものです。
And this installation is based on his own work in Owita Prefecture. It is in 3 tiers of house, the exterior of the house, and it has the opening of the windows on each tier.
彼は非常にユニークな作品を作っていまして、例えば、完全に、ガラス張りの、トイレを作っているんですが、これは、壁で、囲まれていることによって実際には外から見られることがないという世界で一番大きいトイレも設計しています。
And his works are very unique. One example of that would be this toilet in nature, which is encased in the glass case in square. This is so it's completely see-through, but it couldn't be used because everything is fully encased.
この美術館では窓学の成果の一つとして、窓とアート作品、あとは窓の技術の、歴史年表、巨大な年表を壁に貼り出しました。
And in this exhibition, we have explained the combination between windows and art and how they were used in some artworks. And also, we have created the chronological timeline of how windows were featured in artworks.
こうやって絵画における窓を見ていくと、例えば17世紀のオランダ、フェルメールの時代であるとか、シュルレアリスムの、作品などに面白い、表現が見受けられます。
And in this timeline, you can see that an interesting depiction of window in the 17th century in the Netherlands during the Vermeer era, and also in surrealism as well. Some of the interesting artworks are featured here.
僕の研究室では窓の歴史といったものを主に、研究してきたんですけれども、その中で、窓というのは、表象としては絵画に、表現されるんですけれども、同時に非常に技術によって、導かれるということも重視しました。
And in my research lab, we focus on the history of the window. And most of them are depicted in the painting form. However, we decided to focus on the technical aspect of it as well and how it enhances the depiction of windows.
この展覧会では、古い、ヨーロッパの建築書も紹介したんですけれども、例えば17世紀のフランスの建築書に、描かれている、窓を見ると、小さな丸、円形が集合した状態になっています。
And in this research, we have looked into the old European architectural book as well, periodicals, and we have found that old French windows were made with circular glass, many of the circular glasses combined.
これはロンデル窓と呼ぶんですけれども、当時は、ガラスで大きな、大きなガラス面を作ることができなかったので、いわゆる瓶の底のような形を作って、それをつなぎ合わせることで窓を作っていたわけです。
This type of windows are called the Rondelle window. The reason why they've used the circular glasses because they couldn't make the big glass to fill the recess of the space. Therefore, they've decided to make something similar to the base of a bottle, and they have combined many of them together to fill the window space.
こうやって窓の歴史を見ていると、窓というのは外の風景を見るという機能以外にも、空気を入れ替えたり、あるいは外から光を入れるといった、機能を本来、持っていました。
By looking into the history of windows, it is obvious that the windows have a function other than looking out to the scenery. It is used to air the room as well as letting the light into the space.
しかしながら、近代になると、照明、人工照明、あるいは機械による空調といった、技術が非常に発展するので、窓そのものが、必ずしもそうした機能を、担う必要がなくなって、その役割も変化しています。
However, coming into the modern era, the technologies such as artificial lighting and air conditioning system have developed. Therefore, the original function of windows have changed since then.
はい、今回の、ロンドンジャパンハウスでの展覧会でもやはり、アーティストに、協力を依頼して、津田美智子さんに、窓を、モチーフにした、迷宮的な空間を作ってもらいました。
And our exhibition held in Japan House London, we have collaborated with an artist again, and we have commissioned artist Tsuda Michiko to create the installation Windows on Art to create a little bit of a relevance space in the Japan House with London's windows.
で、展示室の方では、例えば壁にさまざまな建築家が窓について、非常に興味深い発言あるいは文章を書いているので、そういった、ものを、取り上げて、特に日本の、窓開口部の特性について、言及しているものを紹介しています。
And in the exhibition itself, we have featured a number of quotes by architects who particularly refers to the Japanese usage of windows. And it strongly features the specifics of the Japanese architectural usage of window.
そうやって見ていくと、日本の窓というのは、西洋の礎石像の石やレンガを積んだ、建築とはかなり違うタイプの、窓を持っていることがわかります。
By looking at those quotes, it is obvious that Japanese windows have a different function to the bricks and mortars that and the windows that are used to fill those buildings in the Western civilizations.
それを、映像で示しているのが、菊月亭という、伝統的な、建築の、映像作品が、ありまして、この映像を見ていただくと、一日の間に、障子や襖あるいは雨戸、が、移動することによってさまざまに建物の表情が変わることがよくわかります。
And we have featured this in the video featuring Kikugetsute, one of the examples of Japanese architecture in this video. It shows how windows are created through the usage of the movement of shoji screen or amado, the wooden screens outside as well.
おそらく西洋的な意味での、窓、ウィンドウとはだいぶ違う、意味合いを持っていて、柱の間の可動物、柱の間にあって移動するものが、窓 のような役割を果たしています。
This shows that the windows in Japan have a completely different, quite a different meaning to the Western context as well. Anything that moves between the pillars are used as windows. Their opening becomes a function of a window.
そうした理由としては、日本は木造の建築で柱と梁を、主体とした軸組みの構造体になっていて、その、柱の間に、窓が、入るわけですが、これらを全部取っ払うと、非常に開放的な吹き放ちの空間にも変わります。
And the reason behind is probably because Japanese buildings, traditional buildings, have been made with mainly wood, and everything was constructed almost in a grid system using the pillars and other elements. Therefore, the opening could be adjusted according to the usage. And if you widely open all the openings, then it created an open space.
その中でも例えば、中世に入ると中国大陸から、仏教の禅宗と一緒に、違うタイプの開口部が、導入されます。花頭窓、鼻の頭の窓、あるいは、文字を火にも当てるんですけども、壁に穴を開けた形式としての、窓の表現も登場します。
And in the medieval era, we see the arrival of Zen sect style architecture from the continental Asia, and this starts to create this. There is an example of the windows through the hole, an inner wall, for the first time in Japanese architecture.
でさらに近世を迎えると、茶室という非常にユニークな、建築のスタイルが、日本の中に登場します。これは非常に小さい閉じた、空間で、むしろ、その閉じた空間のどこに穴を開けるかといったことが、デザインの、重要な、特徴になるものです。
In the modern era, the tea room style architecture is introduced, and one of the characteristics of this is that the tea room itself is very small and closed. So the challenge of one of the features is that where to place the windows within that closed space.
おそらく日本の建築の歴史においては最も、バリエーションのあるさまざまな窓の、形や手法といったものを、生み出したものとして位置づけられると思います。
I believe that within the Japanese architectural history, the tea room style would be featured as one of the most, it created one of the most varied forms and techniques to place windows within the building.
そうした理由から今回展示室の真ん中で、実際に、京都に存在する大変、面白い、茶室、揚水亭を、1分の1のサイズで、再現しました。
And for that reason, we have decided to bring out the full-sized model of a tea house in Kyoto called the Yosuite, because it has very interesting features on them.
でこの揚水亭というのは別名が、13層というか、13の窓を持っているという、名称を持っていまして、おそらくこれだけ小さい空間に、13もの窓、正確に言うと開口部を、持つ建築というのは世界的に見ても大変珍しいと思います。
And the tea house, Yosuite, has an alternative name. It is also known as Jusanso, which could be translated as the house with 13 windows. So these windows, or openings rather, are very different individually. And so it is a very interesting example of an architecture.
はい。これ実際に京都でこの、用水亭を見学したときに撮影したものなんですけれども、例えば、面白い窓の作り方としては、右下の写真を見ていただくと、Shitajimadoと呼ばれるものがあります。
And these pictures were taken when we went for the research trip to visit Yosite itself in Kyoto. And if you look at the picture in the bottom right, you can see that the example of windows called Shitajimado, the foundation window.
これはどういう窓かというと、壁を本来壁で全部埋めてしまうところをわざと、壁で埋めないで、壁に隠れてしまうはずの下地がむき出しに見えているという、要するに完成されない壁として窓が作られている非常に、変わったデザインです。
It's a very unusual design because the windows are placed in where the walls, it should be really covered by the wall. It should be in one wall. However, they have decided to keep the opening out to function as a window. So you can really see the foundation that really shouldn't be revealed. Therefore, it's quite a rare example.
今回、会場では、こうした、特殊なですね、紙の模型で、ポップアップのようにこう、折りたたむと立体になる、茶室の模型を、実際に、展示しています。
And the exhibition displays the paper models of tea house, almost like a pop-up models made from papers.
これは日本において茶室において特に使われる特殊な、図面の表現形式なのですが、今回はこれを拡大したものが、会場で1分の1で、再現されているわけです。
This pop-up of the paper models are used in architectural drawings of tea houses, and it's quite unusual even within the architectural world. And our tea house exhibition in the center is the full-scale model of this enlarged version of this.
イギリスでも博物館に行くと茶室が展示されていて、アシュモレイアンであるとか大英博物館にも、入ってますが、ちょっとこちらの方では多分そこまで窓の面白さは注目されていないと思うので、ぜひジャパンハウスで、茶室における窓の、面白さというものを体験していただければと思います。
Some museums in the UK do have tea house exhibitions. The examples would be Ashmolean Museum as well as British Museum. However, you won't be able to see how exciting and interesting their windows are. Therefore, I would love you to visit the Japan House London's exhibition to really see the unusualness of the windows.
今回、文学あるいは物語においてどのように窓が表現されてきたかということも、展示で紹介しています。その中には、源氏物語であるとか、妖怪の話であるとか、谷崎潤一郎の陰影来賛だとか、そういったものに、題材に窓の、事例を紹介しています。
And in the exhibition, we featured the reference of windows in the stories and literature. Some of the examples are from the tale of Genji and the yokai monsters, the ones that are featuring yokais, as well as the example by Tanizaki Junichiro as well.
東北大の僕の研究室では、窓の歴史と窓の表彰について、 調べてきたんですけれども、最初は広告、次に、絵画で、そして漫画、で、さらには映画といったふうに、視覚的な表現において窓というモチーフが非常に、面白い使われ方をしていることを、調べてきたその成果の一部を、展示しています。
In my research lab at Tohoku University, we have looked into the representation of windows in popular cultures, and we have started this process in advertising and then moved on to painting, and manga, and cinema. And you can really see how different they are and how it's progressed through time.
今回、漫画における窓のセクションもありまして、ここでは特にサザエさんという、戦後の日本において国民的な漫画になった、家族の、題材にした、漫画を取り上げています。
And we have, there is a section within the exhibition which features windows on manga. And one of the mangas featured is Sazae-san, which has become a nationally popular manga after the Second World War. It's about the families, it features every man within the Japanese society.
その中から、いくつかエピソードを紹介しますが、例えば、左の、4コマ漫画は、モダン建築と書かれた、写真集を、見ているとついうたた寝をして夢を見るんですけれども、ガラス張りの、建築の中にいると。で、そこでお客さんが来て、居留守をしようとしても、ガラス張りで外から見えるので、それができないといったことで、目が覚めるという。これは当時、1950年代に日本人がモダニズム建築をどのように捉えていたかということが分かるエピソードです。
And I will show you some examples from that manga section. The one on the left, the Four Parts manga, features the father of the family is reading the publication featuring the modernism architecture, and he falls asleep. And then he's in this house built in the modernist style, and everything is in the glass window. And he's trying to ward off the visitors because he doesn't want to see them. But it's quite obvious that he is in the house due to the glass windows. And it shows how Japanese in the 1950s viewed modernist architecture back then.
これはもともと新聞で、連載されていた、漫画なので、時事的なネタが非常に多くて、例えば右のエピソードは、引っ越したアパートのタンスを移動させると窓が隠れていて、その窓の外には、石油タンクや火薬倉庫が見えて、おそらく公害問題が非常に社会問題化していたときに、描かれたエピソードです。
And Sazae-san was listed in the newspaper as one of their features. Therefore, it shows that they really dealt with the social issues, contemporary social issues at the time. And one on the right shows that there was a window behind a wardrobe. And the reason why it was hidden is because they could see the fossil fuel tank and the smoke coming from it. And it shows that at the time, air pollution was a big concern amongst the society.
他にも、窓や障子を介してどのような家族や友人とのコミュニケーションが行われていたかということが分かります。例えば左のエピソードでは、窓を拭いているときにお互いに文字で会話をするんですが、そのうち悪口の言い合いになって喧嘩になってしまうエピソードです。
And other examples reveals how families and friends communicated through windows and shoji screen as well. One on the left features the example of how while they're cleaning windows, the brother and sister communicate each other through writing on the window screen. And then they start to really not very kind to each other, and it develops into a fight and creates the problem.
右のエピソードは、障子、紙のスクリーンなので、影絵で、遊ぶことができるといったことが表現されています。
And one on the right features how the communication took place through the shoji screen as well. They could really play with a silhouette and how everybody played using the form.
他にも、左は、窓を、ステージの、プロセニアムに見立てて子供が、歌を歌うといったエピソードです。
And one on the left again features how the windows were used almost as a proscenium arch stage. And so one of the child of the family sings to the rest of the family.
右は、夜勤明けのタクシーの運転手が、朝寝なきゃいけないので、外に見える、窓に、夜の風景を描いた、絵を貼って、眠ると、そんなエピソードになっています。
And one on the right is featuring a taxi driver who is a shift worker. So after he's had an evening shift, he goes back home. But in order to sleep, he would put up a painting of the night scene onto the window and goes to bed.
他にも、今回の展覧会では紹介してないんですけども、国民的な漫画として知られる、猫のロボットが登場するドラえもんというのがありまして、これなんかは、2階の窓から、子供が、自由に、空に飛んでいく、そんなシーンが何度も描かれています。
And another popular example, very considered as a national manga, is Doraemon. It's not featured in this exhibition, but a lot of Japanese would know about this. It's the protagonists are cat-shaped robot and the boy of the family, and he's an only child in a nuclear family, and he would go out of the window quite freely to the outside world, and there are many scenes like this within the manga.
映画に関しては今回一応展示でも入れようかと途中まで、検討したものなんですけども、有名な小津安二郎の、東京物語など、これも、日本の室内空間っていうのが、襖や障子、さまざまなレイヤーによって奥行きが作られていることを表現している映像です。
And an example from the film that we really wanted to include as part of the exhibition, and it was definitely one of the contenders. It didn't make it to the final exhibition, but I will give you a taste of this. It's from Tokyo Story by Ozu Yasujiro, which is widely known even outside of Japan. It shows the interior space and its usage in the Japanese society and how it's created through the kusuma doors and shoji screen and the windows. So the multi-layered screen system.
他の、展示としては、例えば、作業空間ですね。仕事をする作業空間において、光とか湿度だとか温度だとか、環境の要素をコントロールするときに、機械で制御するんではなくて、建築の窓や開口部のデザインによってその仕事に合った室内環境を作る そういった事例を紹介して、そのプロダクトと合わせて展示しています。
And other section in this exhibition shows the windows and crafts, so that it features the workspace of craftspeople, how windows are utilized in controlling things such as light, lighting, humidity, and temperature. And instead of relying on the machinery, they rely on the natural control using the windows and opening of the space. And so we featured their workspace as well as the products made.
他のセクションでは、環境そのもの、近代の建築家たちが、どのように、環境制御の装置として開口部というのを捉えていたかということを、紹介する、セクション。ここでは、実際に、シミュレーションというかデータも示しながら、模型とともに紹介しています。
And the other section features windows and its usage within the environment. So it shows how each architect sees windows as the means for the environmental control. And we have displayed this with architectural models as well as data associated with each models.
写真が、いっぱい並んでいるコーナーがありまして、ここは日本の現代住宅を紹介しています。非常にユニークな形の、住宅がいっぱいあるんですが、それぞれ、外の環境との関係を、踏まえて、窓が作られているっていうところに注目して見ていただけると良いかと思います。
There is also a section featuring a number of photographs, as you can see here in this slide, and it features contemporary Japanese architecture and the windows of it. Each photograph reveals the relationship between that building itself as well as the outer environment. So all of them are very unique. So please have a look into the details.
その中の一つ、左側、大ハウス、大邸というのがあるんですけど、これ京都にありまして、住宅なんですけども、吹き抜けのすごい大きな、窓が端部、端っこのところにありまして、この大きな、窓に合わせて特注の、カーテンをデザインして、それで外との関係をコントロールしています。
And one of the example is the O house, which is listed on the left. It shows the mezzanine space, large windows. It's at the edge of the house, as you can see. And to conceal everything to be seen from the outside, and they needed to create a tailor-made curtain. So it shows how the space is used, the windows reveal everything, and how what is used to control.
はい。これは、今回の展覧会では紹介してないんですけども、日本の、黒川紀章という建築家が設計した、カプセルタワービルという有名な建物で、残念ながら今取り壊されそうになってるんですけれども、カプセルの集合体でカプセルには、丸い窓が、ついています。
And this, unfortunately, is not part of the exhibition, but this tower, Capsule Tower building, was designed by Kurokawa Kisho. It is extremely famous worldwide, but unfortunately, it's under the threat of being demolished. But as you can see, it is built with each components, and each block features the circular window, round windows.
このカプセルに、最小限の居住空間のカプセルに丸い窓がついているというのは、おそらく2つのレファランスがあって、1つは、日本の伝統的な茶室 だと思うんですが、もう一つは、これが設計された時期を踏まえると、ちょうど宇宙開発が非常に盛んだった時代で、これは宇宙船のイメージ、非常に未来的なイメージも重ね合わせられていて、伝統と未来的なものというものがここに、これ彼のデザインにおいて重ね合わせられています。
This features the minimum living space that's so quite a compact arrangement for anyone to live. And I believe there are two references for this design. One of them is the Japanese tea houses based on the tradition and examples that you have seen. So that's one. And the second, if you look back to the time when this tower was built, that's when space exploration was a key feature and also interest of the society. Therefore, I believe that he probably based it on the spaceship as well. So I think this space both features the tradition as well as the futuristic outlook.
そうですね。環境制御装置としての窓っていうのは、日本のビルのファサードデザインなんかでも非常に先端的な試みがなされていて、まさに呼吸する皮膚として、ガラスのカーテンウォールといったものがいろいろ開発されています。
And as part of the features to control environments, there are some state-of-the-art designs that are used in Japanese buildings. And for example, in the facade elements, and almost like a breathable skin, they have decided to layer up the glass windows to make it the air circulation to be done in a natural way.
はい。今回コロナ禍でちょっと残念ながら僕はロンドンの会場に、行くことがまだ実現していないんですけども、2階ですかね、2階にも、今回の窓学の展覧会に合わせた、室内が一部施されたりもしています。で、あと、おそらく会場でリーフレットで、コンパクトに、いくつかの切り口で、調査した、内容を、読むことができるものも配布されていると思いますので、ぜひ関心のある方はさらにそれを手に取って見ていただければと思います。窓研究所のホームページからもおそらくこのリーフレットと、同一の内容を、ダウンロードすることができると思います。
Due to the pandemic, unfortunately, I haven't been able to see the actual exhibition in London, regrettably. However, I believe that there are some of the exhibitions being done throughout the building, and not only the exhibition space, but on the ground floor and the first floor. So please have a look. And also, if you are interested, I believe the leaflets of each research findings are being distributed as well. So please have a look on those as well. And also, you would be able to find more on the Windowology Research Lab website as well. So please take a visit.
はい、発表は以上になります。ありがとうございました。
That is my exhibition. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Igarashi-san, for your extraordinarily informative presentation. Absolutely marvelous. Thank you. I was particularly interested when I first encountered this exhibition, and you picked up on it here, the etymology of mado and this idea of hashirama, and how the space between pillars is in fact a window. It's definitely changed my thinking about how I would view windows. So thank you so much for at least introducing me to this particular concept through Japanese architecture. Before we go on to some of the questions from our our attendees. I do have one question for you. In the exhibition Windowology, there are a number of sections which you've highlighted. Which section did you particularly enjoy putting together for this exhibition?
はい。やっぱり、なかなか建築の展覧会っていうのは、アートと違って現物を置くことができない、会場に置くことができないんですけども、茶室だと会場に、小さいので入れることができるので、今回、揚水艇の茶室を会場の真ん中に、置くっていう、プランが、途中で決まって、それは非常に、企画している側としても、ワクワクするというか、どうやって実現させるかっていうことも含めて、いろいろと、試行錯誤というか、会場デザインのチームと、議論しながら進めていったところで、非常に、ここが、ワクワクしましたね。おそらく会場に来ていただける方にも、それは、体験していただけると思っています。
Yes. In the architectural exhibition, it's quite difficult to feature anything full-sized, actual sized exhibit. So the tea house was certainly very exciting when we decided to feature that in the center of the exhibition. There were some challenging aspects. I needed to consult with the exhibition design team, but I hope the visitors definitely can see how different, and also I hope they get to enjoy the exhibit itself and how it's done.
Thank you very much. The tea house, the Yosuite or Koshiezu, the pop-up full-size plan is exciting. Thank you so much, and thank you for mentioning here as well today that if you are in the UK, you can visit, say, the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford and see a part of a tea house, and also the British Museum here in London. But of course, you can get to see this 360-degree and experience the way that the tea house is affected by windows at the Japan House exhibition itself. So thank you very much for pointing that out. We have also here, we have a question from Shintaro. Thank you so much for a very interesting and inspiring lecture. I have a question for Igarashi-san. In the UK, people, ordinary people, i.e. people not related to architecture, I think, no, not architectural specialists, when they take a walk, they talk about windows in the neighborhood. For example, that window is nice, that one is horrible. I have lived in Japan for many years, and I have encountered no one who talks about windows while taking a walk. Madogaku seems to be funded by a sash window company, and I'd like to know maybe what is Madogaku really aiming to achieve?
はい、確かに窓学というのはYKKAP さんという窓を作っている会社がもともと始めたプロジェクトなんですけども、最初からなんか商品開発のために、窓学をやるんではなくて、むしろ役に立たないかもしれないけど、つまり商品を作るのに、窓っていうものの面白さをいろんな角度から掘り起こそうっていう割と純粋な知的好奇心から始まったもので、今現在は公益財団法人っていう組織になっているので、ある意味では会社ともちょっと離れて、本当に一般の人たちにですね、建築を必ずしも専門としない人にも、窓っていうのは本当に面白い、建築の中でこんなになんかいろいろ考えることができる、部位、パーツであるっていうことを、知ってもらおうっていう、そういう目的で、活動を続けています。
Yes, you are right that Windowology was incepted by the idea by YKKP, the window company, and they have funded the project. However, their initial concept was always wasn't for the product development. So they had an understanding that it might not be useful for the business itself, but they really wanted to deepen the understanding of the public's understanding of like, you know, how interesting Windows can be, and how it can be, how it is featured in our everyday life so much as well. And YK, so the Windowology Research Lab has now moved on to be a foundation as well. So it's almost separate from where it started. And really, our intent is for the windows to be appreciated and understood, and how interesting they are by non-experts in architectural fields. And I really want, you know, windows to be embraced by the wider public as well.
でもう一つ付け加えると、大きな野心としては、例えば図書館に行くと本の整理するなんかジャンルがあると思うんですよ。言語学とか心理学とか社会学とか、いろんな何々学ってこうジャンルがあると思うんですけども、窓の、心理学とか窓の社会学とかこう、一通りなんとか学っていうのを全部窓で展開できるんじゃないかっていう、そういう大きな野心を、抱いています。
And my bigger ambition, if I may mention, is that I would like Windowology to be its own category as well. For example, when you go to the library, you would have a section featuring psychology, history, architecture. And I really feel like Windowology could be one category as well. It could be linked to psychology and other forms of academia as well. So that's my bigger ambition.
Thank you very much. Indeed, we have a library at Japan House, and for this exhibition, for this duration, we have a section on Windowology, especially to accompany this exhibition. Let's see whether we will see Windowology sections in other libraries in the future. Thank you. Let me go to another question here. This is from Osa. Igarashi-san, thank you for sharing these very interesting images. Please, can I ask about the natural size of the tea house in paper in the exhibition? I think so. We're talking about the models that also accompany the life size. Of course, here's how in the context. It's moved. It looks like a two-story tea house, which I understand is very unusual. Or is it just looking at like it's in two floors, as the interior ceilings are unevenly leveled with straw ceilings? I hope my question is understandable, it says in brackets.
わかります。はい。実際に外から見ると、屋根がとんがっていてですね、確かに2階建てに見えます。で、実は会場で屋根のところは切ってます。屋根の先端まで入らないんで。ただ、中は1階建てで、かなり急勾配でこう屋根がこう大きいので、ちょっと普通の茶室に比べると、確かに大きく見えるんですけど、中は、1階建てで、さっき言ったように会場では、室内空間は入ってるんですけど、屋根のところは確かに、ちょっと高さが足りないんで、屋根の先端のところまでは入ってないです。ご指摘の通りです。
No, I understood the question perfectly. Thank you for that. It's yes, I have to mention that, as you pointed out, the roofs are in a sharp angle. Actually, the actual tea house, it's in a it's definitely it's quite high up as well, so it does look like it's in two stories. However, we have cut the very top of it due to the height of the exhibit space. So it looks bigger, the tea house itself, than the other examples of tea houses, but inside it's single floored, so it's not two stories. But yes, you are right, it does look as if it's two-storied, and it's life size apart from the top of the roof. Yes.
Thank you very much. So that there's an illusion of stories within. Thank you. I think we've only got time for one more question, unfortunately. And so this is from one of our attendees. Thank you very much for the fascinating presentation. It's really refreshing to learn about the different uses and cases and types of Japanese windows. In the context of Japan, how should modern day architects integrate their creativity into the Japanese way of interpreting windowology, as well as space and light? How should these contemporary architects balance the non-Japanese influence with Japanese, and in quotations, style guides in windows?
あ、難しい質問ですね。そうですね。実際、窓はやっぱり周辺環境との関係から、出てくるものが非常に大きいので、例えば今回日本の現代住宅の、非常にユニークなもの、これやっぱり日本っていうのは小さい家が密集した中で建っているので、すごく隣との関係がものすごく考えないと、トラブルのもとにもなったりするんですよね。なので、これと同じ環境に必ずしも世界各地とか日本以外の国があるわけではないので、直接的にこう、役に立つっていうわけではないんですけども、合わせてその窓の形そのものというよりも、窓と環境がどういう関係性を持っているかっていうところを見ていただくと、それぞれの地域で、じゃあ自分の場所ではその窓と環境の関係性をどう考えるかっていう、考え方のヒントにはなるかなと思うので、その周りとの関係っていう視点で見ていただくと良いかと思います。
Yes, it's a difficult question, but I believe the key would be how the window is really born from the surrounding environment that the building is located in. And it's featured in the examples that I have given in Japanese contemporary architecture, photographs of it as well. What you would see is that because of the population density, Japanese houses tend to be small and it's built to the close proximity to its neighbors. So you have to really be careful of how you associate with them in the design elements, and also so you have to be mindful of what the others are, the neighbors are, otherwise it would create troubles. So always be mindful of the surrounding environment, and that the design itself, the shapes of the windows, for example, might not be direct use to the non-Japanese context in architecture designs, but I think how windows and the surrounding designs really like feed off each other in terms of design element could be useful for different regions in the world as well. So that idea could probably be something that you could use in non-Japanese context.
Thank you very much, Igarashi-san. It's been fascinating today. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. And I'm sorry if we haven't been able to answer all your questions. I hope we've been able to cover some of what you've been asking as well, those who haven't been answered in person. Thank you very much. I hope you stay with us just briefly for the next minute or two while I go through some of the things at Japan House. Thank you very much to Kurasawa-san for interpreting. It's been very helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of our attendees and your questions. Thank you for putting them in. Following this event, any attendees will receive a feedback questionnaire by email. Please do fill it in with your comments, as it helps us to continue to create events like this in the future. Thank you very much. Just to go through what we have at Japan House, of course, thank you very much, Igarashi-san, for mentioning the leaflets. We do indeed have leaflets, so any visitors who want to come to see Windowology, new architectural views from Japan at Japan House London, please do come and please do ask for any of these leaflets. They are marvelous. They are also, as you said, available on the Window Research Institute website. This exhibition is at Japan House until the 10th of April. We also have a talk by Jérémy Souterra, the photographer. Igarashi-san mentioned this in his presentation. This is Windows on Contemporary Japanese Architecture. That is also being held at Japan House, and it will also be streamed live. And so viewers online can also see that. This will be on Thursday, the 3rd of February. Please do book your place. We are also, of course, touching on the idea of tea in this exhibition because of the way that the Yosuite looks at the use of light and space. We have regular tea demonstrations by members of the Urasenke Foundation, the Tanko Kai UK, demonstrations of Chado every Wednesday, and then on, or not every Wednesday, Wednesdays and on Saturdays, excuse me, and that runs regularly until the 6th of April inside Japan House. Please do come and visit and book your place for those free demonstrations. And of course, a tea demonstration such as that will use the chasen, the tea whisk, and we have an online event, a workshop and visit and demonstration with tea whisk maker Tanimura Tango from Nara Prefecture, and that's on online. So please do book your place there, and that's on Tuesday, the 1st of February from 12 o'clock until 1. Thank you once again very much, Igarashi-san. It was a fascinating talk. Thank you so much for your insight and for sparing the time to tell us all about your project. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you in person in London at some point. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.